Greetings. Welcome to ITR Live. I'm your host, Chris Hagan, and we are here in Studio 130 for another fun-filled, action-packed episode of Iowa's premier conservative podcast. Here in studio with me today is John Hendrickson and Chris Ingstad. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hey.
Thank you.
Good. You know why? I right before I hit record, I wasn't sure what we were going to get today because we haven't done this in about a week, but John got his headset on first try. And Chris got his seat adjusted first try, and it's new equipment day.
Yeah. Yep. It's a big day around here.
So we've got a new camera for our literally 12 to 13 YouTube viewers. We've got a new video camera, and so you have to check us out on YouTube and subscribe there, and you can see how good we look, or whatever your
whatever your opinion of us might
whatever
be.
You want to call it is, but it's going to be a big day here on the podcast. So starting out, John, I have a question that I neglected to ask you during the pre-production meeting. Are you going on RAGBRAI this week?
Yes.
You are. Which day will you be on?
All days.
Okay, good. All right. Chris, RAGBRAI this week?
My kids might go watch some of the cyclists come in.
Have you ever done any RAGBRAI before?
No.
Good. John?
No.
Okay. So I have some thoughts on RAGBRAI, and it occurred to me as I was, sitting here getting ready to hit record that we may actually have a listener that maybe tunes in a podcast while they're on RAGBRAI.
I hope so.
Yeah. So I guess the message for, our handful of listeners who may be out there, you're crazy. So John, if you were going to go out on RAGBRAI this week, choose between Thursday, Des Moines to Tama, 82 miles, 3,652 feet of elevation, and a high of 100 with a heat index of 106. You could do that day, or the following day, if that day doesn't work out for you, you can do Tama to Coralville, 82 miles, 3,303 feet of elevation, high of 99 with a heat index of 104.
Nope,
I'll pass.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you also have the benefit, like the night before, you can get blackout drunk and get out and do it in the morning to make it even easier. Okay.
My neighbor goes every year.
Yeah.
A group of people. They have a school bus they bought just for RAGBRAI.
Yeah.
They park it on a farm like 51 weeks a year. Mm-hmm. And otherwise they break it out for RAGBRAI and custom paint job on it. Mm-hmm. It's peeling a little bit.
Yeah.
But they name their bus Magnum Thunder.
Okay.
Then that's all I've got to say about it.
Okay. I got nothing else that I'm going to add to that right now. But yeah, you people are crazy. Okay, John, I got to come back to you again. Another question that we didn't get to in pre-production this morning. So you recently got a Twitter account. You're on Twitter.
I'm not. No, not yet.
Well,
you better hurry.
No sooner does John Hendrickson contemplate getting on Twitter than Elon changes the name.
Well,
did you see this?
It's been changed.
It's now going to be X. Just X.
But isn't he also threatening he might just shut it down altogether?
I didn't see that. That would be unfortunate. Yeah, but I wanted
John killed Twitter.
John, it's like you. Okay, so John got it for our listeners. That like John needed to be on Twitter so he could watch Tucker Carlson.
Yes, yeah.
And the name of the show now on Twitter is Tucker on Twitter. So the question is it going to be Tucker on X?
Yeah,
boy. For those of us who went to college in the 90s, that opens up the door to some other interpretation.
I don't know. I just stumbled across that, but it's a strange thing. Apparently, Elon's been fascinated with the letter X for years, and has always been called off of. He wanted to be PayPal. He wanted to have it be X, and so anyway, John. All right, okay, I got all that stuff. John, do you have any other surprises for me, like the fact that you're going on RAGBRAI or anything? You just want to get down to business today.
No more
Skip
surprises.
the happy talk, Chris. Get down to business. All right. Okay, first things first. Chris, you have something that I want, before I forget about this, that I wanted you to at least tell folks about that we're doing at ITR Foundation, because I think it's pretty cool. And
we published a magazine. It's our first ever magazine as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
I suppose the whole name is A Better Path Forward, but we'll just refer to it as Forward. Yep,
Better
there
Path
it is.
Forward?
There it is. Yeah. My kids think it's from John because he wrote most of the articles in there. but some of the rest of us had a say as well. And it's a compilation of articles that we've written recently, and we know not everybody who cares about our issues necessarily is hitting refresh on our website every day, and maybe they're like John and they don't have Twitter or X or wherever else folks go to view these things on social media. So we think there's still a big segment of the population who tends to agree with us that needs let's be quiet with the pop can now, sure, that needs sort of hard copy to be able to dive into our work, because we're proud of our work and we think we've got some good ideas. And so that hit mailboxes this week. If you didn't get it and you would like one, drop us a note.
Yeah.
Tell us what time Matlock or Murder, She Wrote is on, and also request a copy of the magazine, and we'll get one out to you.
Yeah. We had one delivered to our house, and my wife, who's rarely, particularly excited about it in any of my own work products, she saw it and said, wow, that's pretty cool. It looks nice. And she said, who wrote that for you? I'm like, well, we wrote it. And then she's like, no, you didn't. I'm like, yeah, you're right. John wrote quite a bit.
Well, John,
I didn't write it.
John probably got the most. Then Sarah Victoria's got an article in there, and our team put it together. So it is in fact a team effort, and we're proud of it. We're proud of the work we do. We hope folks can check it out.
No, I think it's great because look, it's the podcast is part of this. Our social media is part of it. The things we mail out, the magazine. We're just trying to get. However you consume information, we want to be able to talk to you.
That's right.
And get the things, because we think we've got important work, important things to say, important research that we need to get out to people. And so this is just another effort to try and get it to folks.
Yep.
So very good. All right. Chris, you and I saw this article this morning in Axios Des Moines, which was, I think, kind of part of a broader national Axios thing on retirement. But 2/3 of Americans over the age of 55 intend to delay their retirement or are uncertain of when they will be able to retire. That's people over the age of 55. 20% of Americans over the age of 55 believe they will never get to retire. That's pretty sad, I think.
Yep.
I mean, if you think historically the retirement age being 65, maybe even as early as 62, and that's certainly on the horizon for folks that are 55 and older, and yet they still don't know. So is it thanks Biden? What's your takeaway on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very sarcastic thanks Biden. Look, they're going to two things they probably fear. Recent history, the stock market up and down and pretty bumpy, right? And then the other part is high inflation. And I think that inflation probably hits the retirees as hard as anybody, right? Because they don't have a chance to go out and keep earning or maybe benefit from a wage, from an inflation adjusted wage increase, It seems like historically the Social Security cost of living adjustment doesn't quite keep pace with that. So these folks are basically at the end of their earning years, and they've got Biden's economy that everything keeps getting more expensive. Why should they feel really confident?
Yeah. I agree. You pointed out the last line in the article, which I really enjoyed.
The very end of the end of the whole newsletter. It wasn't even that article. Oh, it's just sort of by the way, as of January 1, we no longer pay income tax and retirement income in Iowa, with some smiley face emoji. And I just replied to them and said, "You're welcome."
Yeah,
glad they appreciate it.
Well,
we did what we could there.
We did what we could do there, and we've talked about it over and over on this show that there's only so much that state level policy can counteract the broader economic forces at play. But we've done what we can in Iowa. The economy continues to withstand Biden's economy nationally, and we're returning dollars back into the pockets of Iowans and exempting their retirement income from income tax. So that's all good. But John, you saw this? I mean, when it comes right down to it, these things that we talk about, economic strength and tax policy, ultimately there's a real world impact, which is an individual's bottom line and their desire to get ahead. And that's being able to retire someday is absolutely a part of that, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I think this is another example of where policy has consequences, and so as Chris mentioned, inflation. I saw an article this morning where the typical middle class family has lost at least at a minimum $4,000 as a result of inflation to their income, and so inflation not only eats away at retirement, but it also eats away at wages for what people are making. Yeah. And so if you look at surveys that are done, you ask someone, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? And the answer is no. I mean, you're paying more in gas, you're paying more in food, you're paying more in necessities. And the other thing is that, the cornerstone of Bidenomics is basically spend money. Just turn on the printing presses and spend money, and we're dealing with the consequences of that. And it's not working. And so this is going to be a big issue in this presidential election.
You saw a piece this morning. You mentioned it to me. It was in the Business Record, talking about Iowa's economy and trying to assert that the only reason that we have any strength in Iowa's economy is the federal spending.
Yes, yeah,
which to me is exactly wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the overspending at the federal level that has generated all the inflation, which is hanging around our necks.
Well, and if you look at and the argument put forth in this article in the Business Insider was that the Iowa leading indicators that the Department of Revenue looks at are mostly all down, and it credits federal spending for keeping things going. But what this article failed to acknowledge is that, despite all the economic uncertainty at the national level, Iowa's financial condition is in fairly good condition. Our revenues are still very positive. Our the budget is forecasted to be, I think, close to $2 billion in surplus. The taxpayer relief fund is expected to grow. The reserve accounts are at their maximum limit, and so as much as all this national economic certainty, Iowa's doing very well compared to, if you look at some of these blue progressive states like California and New York that have followed the Biden playbook for a lot longer. And they're, with their tax and spend agenda, their budgets are not in very good shape right now. And so we're, thankfully, I think Iowa is weathering this economic uncertainty very well because of our sound tax and budget policies that the legislature and the governor have been doing the last several years.
And long may it continue. No, I think that's correct. Talking about Bidenomics and how things are going in Iowa, I saw a headline caught my eye in Bleeding Heartland. So if you're not familiar, it's a liberal progressive blog in Iowa. There's few things I truly agree with in there, but it's usually pretty well done, and the author is very smart and very well informed. But the headline, and this is a guest author anyway, but the headline was, the reason it grabbed my attention: how Democrats can use Bidenomics to win in rural Iowa again. And it's just like, I got to see this. Now the article, so I clicked.
When did they branch into science fiction?
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. And it's, I think it's premised on that, rural voters just don't know what's best for them, is that what they really need is socialism and radical leftist social policy and cultural Marxism, and that's what's really going to win the day for Democrats in rural Iowa. But it was a lengthy trip down, 100 years of farm policy and truly socialist, communist kind of stuff, and which I quickly realized I just didn't have the time for, and scrolled through it. And you get the predictable end of the story with the picture of Cesar Chavez and the whole bit. But because there actually were some policy suggestions down at the very end of the article, and so that part of the plan to win rural voters on agricultural policy is a living wage in farming and meatpacking, So, I mean, if you like paying, 3 or 4 times as much for bacon and sausage, that would be great. Or requiring, small farmers to pay their hired
really,
hands.
Really help with inflation.
Yeah, that'll help a lot with inflation. And a lot of heavy restrictions on land use and fertilizer, pesticide treatments, all the things that the liberals love to overregulate about agriculture. So really, after all of this, their plan is more regulation, higher inflation, more costs, less freedom. And that's the Bidenomics plan for how to win back voters in rural Iowa. I say all of this that, and I think Americans get this. It shows up in public opinion data, and it's starting to actually just filter into the even in the media a little bit, is that this economy is just broken. This economy is not working for America, and folks are scared. They don't know what's coming next, and there's a better way. The title of the magazine, Chris, is A Better Path Forward. Right. And we come back to this again and again, is that we're showing it in Iowa. But it doesn't have to be this way in America.
Well, people are tired of what's going on in Washington, because there was another article I saw this morning where the debt ceiling compromise, Congress is already basically working to undermine their so-called spending cuts that were supposedly achieved in that compromise. And so, people are tired of the smoke and mirrors and the gimmicks. And that's one thing I think about, at least we can say in Iowa, is that we're actually doing some good things. I mean, the governor is doing what she promised to do on the campaign trail, and upholding those promises and putting them into actual policy. And, I didn't read the article on rural socialism, but that's not going to work.
No,
because people are tired of, for example, they're tired of the Green New Deal type agenda that has devastated our economy. I mean, we were energy independent. Now we're not.
Yeah.
And and I know there's a lot of rural areas, for example, in the mining country, that are just fed up with Democrats because their war on mining and war against jobs, and so I don't think it's going to go. I mean,
at some point, the evidence right in front of your eyes trumps anything that you're going to hear out of political messaging from Washington, D.C. Is that if you live in the Iron Range, that Democrat policy is broken and doesn't work. Mm-hmm. It's right in front of your eyes. Yeah. And the same thing, if you actually care about the culture around you and happen to be a rural voter, it doesn't work. If you have anything to do with farming and you see this sort of agenda is the path forward, it doesn't work because you live it.
Yes.
And meanwhile, the coastal progressive elites think that that everybody in rural America is just stupid and hasn't figured it out yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Good. We're all in agreement then. That's where I wanted to land. Okay.
Your coastal elites comment just made me think. A lot of folks would claim to know what's best for Iowa, whether that's agriculture specifically or something else. And I think they are just so far off the mark because they don't understand it. And they don't bother to understand. They just want to look at us as simpletons or rubes or, ultra MAGA.
Right. Yeah. I did see a guy that had a sticker on his truck the other day that just said Ultra MAGA. It was like the style of the Trump flag, and it was a square sticker, and it just said Ultra MAGA with the stars on it. I'm like, whether you're Ultra MAGA or not, that's awesome.
I think we probably saw the same truck at the same place, Chris. So.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
No.
But I think and
yeah, we did.
There's elites, and there's still elites in both political parties that don't understand the frustrations of middle America.
No,
that's my point.
On a bunch of issues.
That's my point.
And heaven forbid they come and actually talk to people, because this is going to be a shocker to those folks. There actually are people here who understand how our economy works here.
Yes.
And are informed. But no, we can't actually come and have that conversation. We're just going to demonize everyone and tell them all that they can't figure it out. What we really need is the socialist policies handed down from on high from our betters. Well,
Yep.
I dissent. I disagree. I think we've got a great thing going here. I think we got some smart people, and I think we got some great ideas that actually aren't just because I say they're good ideas, but pretty much every time they've been put into practice in the history of the Republic, they've worked.
And that's the test. I mean, we can look at what models have worked and what have not, and I'm sorry, the California model, the New York model, Illinois model is not working, and our friends in Minnesota are learning that the hard way as they not only are taxing spending but passing radical social agenda. And it just doesn't work.
Yep. Well, I thought it was a pretty good episode getting back here in studio after a week off. Well, not a week off, but we only had one episode last week. I thought we did pretty well.
I do have a bone to pick with both of you. Because I heard this morning that you two were talking about trade, and I wasn't invited to the conversation.
We talked about talking about trade, John. Yes. We did not actually talk about trade because I can look now. That's not fair. I have said, John, you put together your trade talk, and we'll record it. It's as soon as you're ready. I don't know what else I can do. So as soon as you're ready to talk about trade, any of this, I want to put together. I tried to ask you on the show, what is Hendrickson conservatism?
Yeah.
So let's go. So anyway, get yourself ready. I'm gonna call. I'm calling you out. Bring it in here and let's go. All right.
That sounds like a plan.
Okay. Very good. All right, gentlemen. Thank you. All right. On that note. All right. Well, that's all we got for today, folks. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check us out on YouTube with the new camera. It's going to be really exciting. The screen here at the ITR Live logo went off halfway through the episode, so you can watch the screensaver for a while if you get bored with us. So anyway, with that, we will see you next time on ITR Live.